Hello everyone, this is going to be my first response video on all of your all's reflections on the module for race and ethnicity. So I really enjoyed listening to everyone discuss their thoughts and feelings on the topic and everything that we've learned because it felt like everyone was really honest. Everyone expressed more or less the difficulty in discussing the content, and I respect that we were able to be honest with that without sounding as if we refuse to discuss, or because since we're so uncomfortable, assuming you're uncomfortable, that it prevents you from being able to speak. And that's actually one of the first key concepts I wanted to continue to talk about, and how white privilege, I feel, at UNCW is based on that whole idea of when we talk about racism, when we talk about oppression, everyone is scared to talk about it. They get nervous. They feel it has to be scheduled conversations. And that really bugs me because I personally feel, and that's because of my time at Guilford, that it's really easy to talk about it. White privilege is not meant to be a conversation to have that's easy, but it does become easier the more you talk about it because you become informed, you begin to gain knowledge. I talk about in my reflection video how at Guilford it was a daily culture. We went through the understanding racism workshops during orientation. Athletes and student leaders had go through workshops of all types every year on different subjects because the institution wanted to prepare us for the real world where people may not be as open about these conversations. I was thinking about Susan's video and how she talked about things that we could do to fix these issues, to be able to do better, to do more. And I really do agree on one of her recommendations that to fix this, or unintentional racism at any university, one of them being was to talk more about why this is going on. And part of me agrees, and another part of me disagrees. I 100% agree that we need to talk about our language and our actions and the perceptions we may give to people of color, or perceptions that we encourage upon our white students. However, I feel there is a wall that you hit, and I feel the university and administration has already hit this wall, that when you've done nothing because all you've done is spend all these years, all this time talking about what you could do, what you may do, what we probably could implement here or there, but no one is actually taking the full initiative because it's just they want to talk. And I think we need to talk, we need to plan, and we need to act. It is easy to become lost in discussion that does not lead to productivity. But at least talking is occurring and will lead to someday, one day, a possible change. This really leads into the cycle of socialization in the readings that Pat had talked about and Susan had talked about. I completely overlooked it, I guess, when I was reading it, and didn't apply it to how I see it at UNCW or what I've heard at other large universities. And it really leads back into that difficulty of discussing this because the population at UNCW and where it's at, have see that everyone's just is confused. Everyone is insecure to talk about white privilege because they may not know enough about it, and it makes them feel weird. It makes them feel bad. And while it is something to feel bad about in a sense, you can't let your feelings, the negative feelings that get in the way of development of potentially making UNCW not only the fastest growing university, but become much more diverse in our students and our administration. Thoughts on white privilege that I had based on the reflections. Pat mentioned the sentence in one of the readings that discussed about people that come into contact with a police officer or being pulled over, and they begin to worry about how if they'll make it home or not. And when watching reflection videos in this class or in other ones from the past, I always think about these scenarios that have gone on recently in my life and how it relates to the course material. And when you described that, I was thinking about how last night I was doing homework on the completely other side of campus, about a mile away from my apartment. And at 1 a.m., I walked all by myself and I wasn't afraid. I was not afraid that I was going to get stopped. I was not afraid that I was going to get jumped or beat up or any of that. It didn't even faze me. And this is how I've always been. I always go on odd adventures, and my friends always make me text or call them when I'm alone because I'm known to go on these adventures. And while I'm not personally afraid of my surroundings or feel that someone is watching me or out to get me, I understand that I have friends of different skin color and genders who are not as confident in being alone like that. So they look out for my safety as they would look out for their own safety, or they would look out for the safety of other people of color just like them. And it's something that, like, that's a piece of, like, that's something uncommon to state as white privilege, but it is. I know, like, I am white. I come from Greensboro, which is very heavily populated, and then I'm low income student, single parent household. But even though I do have all of that, just the fact that I am white helps a lot in different ways that it does not help my friends. And for the last piece of discussion, it really goes into, I feel, the status of UNCW's student population and their administration. I feel there's so much more potential for us to be diverse, and I think everyone could agree that conversations have been going on, but not a lot has been happening. And I think it's not just gonna drop down in our laps. And I think, unfortunately, because of all what's gone on with the hurricane and what's gone and I think it's just gonna continue to go farther under the rug, and no one's gonna be thinking about that. Um, and while there's no way I could at this point in time help more with bringing these discussions, because the discussions do not faze me. I have no problem talking about my own white privilege. I have no problem calling out other people on their white privilege appropriately without attacking them. I have no problem having these discussions, but it is the reactions of certain staff and certain students when I try to discuss that. They don't take it well. I've seen staff and students that have not, when it comes to the conversation of that, unless they are within a diversity and inclusion office, which I've had very great conversations in, of course, other people are not as open, and they would rather have these discussions be behind closed doors, not casual and over lunch. They want it to be very private, and I think we need to get out of the private closing the door and start actually having some actions on how we can better diversify our university, and with that will provide us more opportunities and grow the student body as the administration want to do so much. Lastly, I want to say thank you for all of the videos and your reflections. They're all great. It's really hard to keep these at 5 minutes when this is all information I love talking about, and I miss talking about it every day. I miss having it as part of my life. So thank you for your videos, and thank you for listening to mine. Bye-bye.